Greetings, seekers of knowledge, and welcome to another episode of Embracing the Paradox, home of the deranged, the supernatural, and all things that go bump in the night. True crime, urban lore, we have it all for you right here. I, of course, am Distal Marrow, your trusty guide into parts unknown, and I am asking you once again to let me take you on a journey. If this is your first time visiting the channel and you'd like to support the show, please make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Today, we delve into a decades-old mystery from deep in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado. If you like camping and hiking in the backcountry, pay close attention as this one might change your mind about embarking on future excursions. Back in 1968, Gentry Ableton lived a quiet life with his 20-year-old son Philip. They shared a small cabin in the shadow of Mount Meeker, a nearly 14,000-foot peak in the northwest corner of Boulder County. There, they herded bighorn sheep, and Gentry supplemented their income as a blacksmith. He was a stern man with a work ethic as hard as the iron he hammered. In his early days, he worked the dying silver mine in Caribou until it finally went out of production in the 1920s. It was there he married Philomena. They were unable to have kids most of their lives until they finally moved out of the polluted mining town. After many years, they were finally blessed with Philip. Sadly, Philomena passed in June of 1959 from what was later determined to be a long-term exposure to lead. It is believed that exposure began during her pregnancy with Philip. Additionally, and it is not known for sure, but there are substantiated rumors that Philomena was Gentry's first cousin. Extended family in Iowa have neither confirmed nor denied this, apparently out of embarrassment. It is likely that the combination of these two things were the cause of Philip's mental disability. All that said, the reason our story starts in 1968 stems from the fact that this was the first known incident with the individual who would later become known as the Madman of Mount Meeker. On a clear night in the middle of July, Gentry went missing without a trace. A massive search party was organized by the Boulder County Sheriff's Department. They searched over 50 square miles of the area around the Ableton residence, until, late one afternoon, a volunteer came across a rusty metal bucket. Inside the bucket was a human skull. Most of the skin was removed by scavenging animals, and the rest had naturally mummified. But it was clear that it was what was left of Gentry. His body was never found. Police were never able to solve the case. Philip was nonverbal throughout the process, and although initially a suspect, was released on his own reconnaissance after no evidence of his involvement could be determined. Philip went back to live in the cabin and, for a time, seemed to be doing okay for himself. However, about a year later, a county official visited the cabin to perform a wellness check. Strangely, there was no sign of Philip. Absolutely nothing. Officials initially believed this to be a repeat case where the same individual who abducted Gentry eventually came back to do the same to Philip. Usually in those types of cases, there would be some sort of evidence that a person was living at the location. But here, there was only the standing structure. No food, clothing, or even furniture was in the cabin. It was like Philip was scrubbed from the face of the earth. All searches of the area proved futile, even though the net cast covered hundreds of square miles. Years passed and still no sign of Philip was ever found. It seemed as if the world had forgotten him. Then, in early June of 1971, two boys, Charlie Drucker, age 14, and Cameron Adler, age 15, who were both attending summer camp at Camp St. Malo, went missing after setting off on an unsanctioned afternoon hike. They were never found alive, but a torn swatch of Charlie's shirt was discovered several hundred yards off of a well-worn hiking trail near Sand Beach Lake. Dogs were dispatched to track the scent, but were ultimately unsuccessful. All hope of finding the boys was lost, but in October of that year, a Forestry Service worker came across a horrific scene right at the edge of the timberline. The skeletal remains of 2 individuals were hanging by the wrists from a pair of dead pine trees west of and below Lake Powell. Worst of all, it appeared that the heads had been removed from both of the bodies. The remains were dressed in the same clothing as the 2 missing boys. A massive, intense search of the surrounding area for any other remains proved fruitless, and the case eventually went cold. 5 years later, in September of 1976, 3 more teenagers from another summer camp facility, Highlands Camp, decided that they were going to try to climb Meadow Mountain. This time, Nancy Allred, Jeff Roberts, and Julie Marvins were accompanied by one of the camp counselors, Linda Smoot. During their excursion, though, an early winter storm blew in from the northwest, and they were forced to turn back. But due to the weather, they made little progress before it began to get dark. Now, with little in the way of protective gear, they decided to hole up for the night in a makeshift shelter they managed to make under a large rock overhang. That night, by the light of a small fire, the group did their best to stay warm. At some point, the group began to hear what sounded like someone circling their spot. Worse, the individuals seemed to be carrying with them a rusty metal bucket that squeaked and rattled with every step. Linda decided to take watch and guard the camp as best she could while the rest of the group tried to get some sleep. When the storm finally passed and morning light broke, Julie Marvins awoke to the smoldering embers of the fire all alone. She was initially panic-stricken that the group left without her sometime in the night, but she soon realized that all of their backpacks were still there. A sound of footsteps in the distance grabbed her attention. Julie looked in the direction of the noise. About 100 yards away, she swears she saw the figure of a man in the tree line. He was dressed in overalls and carried with him a metal bucket. They locked eyes for the briefest moment, then the figure turned and disappeared into the forest. Now, completely terrified, she leapt up and gathered what she could and somehow made her way back to Highlands Camp. When she finally arrived, she learned that the others hadn't returned and were now missing. Julie told authorities what happened, and of course a search party was dispatched. Once again, no sign of the missing were discovered. However, at the location of the makeshift shelter, a strange, indecipherable symbol was painted on the rock face in what looked like blood and ash from the fire. Also, there was no sign of the others' backpacks Julie left behind. To this day, not a single trace of the other 3 were ever found. Julie herself refuses to talk about it to anyone. Rumors quickly spread like wildfire about an insane person stalking the mountains looking for victims to behead and somehow add to his grisly collection. Everyone believes it to be none other than Philip Ableton himself. Though no evidence has ever been unearthed tying him to these crimes, tales of him prowling the mountainside persist. In those tales, it is said he was the one who killed his father back in '68 before disappearing into the wilderness, coming out of hiding only to claim more victims. You'll even hear the odd hiker tell of a sound of a metal bucket rattling in the distance, usually near dusk. Nowadays, the tale is used to scare kids around the campfire while an accomplice runs around in the dark with a bucket to add to the fear. What do you think? Was Philip Ableton the Madman of Mount Meeker, or is he just an easy scapegoat for lost hikers and actual killers? Let us know in the comments below. And now for my favorite part of the show, we are going to be taking live calls from our premium listeners to hear your theories and feedback. First up, we have Beauty School Dropout. I know a certain movie someone's probably a fan of. It's nice to hear from you. What do you think of the Madman of Mount Meeker?
OMG. I'm on right now. Oh my god.
You are? Thank you for calling.
Yes. Can I just say that your lipstick is to die for? What shade is that?
Thank you. I know it's something Fenty.
Oh my god.
I think it was called Showstopper.
Oh, of course it is. Fenty. Okay. Anywho, so I'm a long time listener, and you have been a godsend. Can I just say that? I've got like two
You.
kids. Yeah, so I've got two kids, and I literally use you to put them to sleep every night. Girl, they are so annoying, but they went to sleep especially fast this episode. So thank you first and foremost. Um,
They must not have. They've probably heard it at summer camp then, huh? They've heard the story before? So you let your kids go to sleep to true crime.
Oh, yes, of course. Um, they love this stuff. I can't. Whatever it takes to put them to sleep. I mean, whatever they want. I'd
Okay.
literally give them a gun if that's what. Oh, maybe I shouldn't say
Well,
that right
our,
now.
our beauty sleep is important. Well, thank you so much for calling, and I'll let you get back to your two beautiful children. But thank you for supporting the show. All right. Here is our next caller. We have Kill for Thrills. Okay, Kill for Thrills. You're on live with Embracing the Paradox.
Oh, so I thought you should have got a hand.
Yeah, you're on. Thank you for calling.
Yeah. So the Madman of Mount Meeker, right?
Yeah. Have you heard of the story before?
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I'm just really high right now. It's a
Oh,
mouthful
okay.
to say, all right.
Well, do you have any theories about
I mean,
Philip or?
they used to tell a story around the camps all the time. When I was going to summer camp, and of course we all have our theories, but I mean, do we ever even know what happened to Philip? I mean,
No,
and why
not
is
for
the bad guy
sure.
when all these backwoods places? Why all the bad guys always have to pee in the overalls? I wear overalls sometimes, and I don't wanna be a stereotype.
Well, yeah. I mean, overalls are just a popular garment with workers, so a lot of people wear them.
No, my theory on Philip is, he just wanted good head.
All right. And our next caller here is Matcha Mama. Hello, Matcha Mama. You're on live with Embracing the Paradox.
Oh my god, hey girl.
Hi, thank you for calling.
Thank you for having me. Okay, so, first of all, I think it was a town conspiracy, first and foremost.
Okay. Are you from the area?
No, but I've been reading up on these things, and let me tell you, if I was a cop back in the day, I would have opened and shut this case in 1 week, girl. 1 week.
Okay. What do you think happened?
I think he had some police relatives.
Okay. That's an interesting theory. Yeah.
Probably cousin to the sheriff. Okay, and another theory. I think he had some help. He's not just running around the forest killing all
Okay.
these people by himself. He definitely had himself a little side chick.
That's interesting. So you think the town was protecting him?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Especially if he was a white man. Don't even get me started. Have you seen the Ed Gein the story piece they did on Netflix recently?
I haven't seen that, but I'm familiar with Ed Gein, yes.
Girl, they're all in it together.
Yeah.
All the white men.
I can see that. Well, thank you so much for your theory, and I'm going to look into that and see if there's more there. All right, well, that is it for our show today, and I hope that you join us next week for our next mysterious tale. Bye.